Like most places, a land of opportunity.
Okay.
And I think there's a great advantage for somebody who's coming in from Nigeria or from other parts of the world where they're educated. There's a lot of advantages.
Okay.
In fact, there's a road across the road from here where I actually grew up. My first home was on Broadway Road, not far from here. And
Okay.
I grew up here in Birmingham, and at age 11, my parents divorced.
Okay.
And I went off the rails completely. My dad was incarcerated for most of my teenage years.
Okay.
I was homeless at 16 years old, right? So the context that I was raised in and lived in was one where racism was the order of the day.
Okay.
And so black people, black Caribbean people growing up in Birmingham here, there was a lot of struggle, resistance, opposition, persecution, and we were limited for opportunities. And so the consequence of that was that we carried a lot of weight and our chips on our shoulders, we would say.
Yeah.
So we went through life kind of, pointing fingers, making excuses, and there's a lot of struggle factored into the system. And so I said it to say that since obviously I've been to Africa several times now, on missionary work, ministry work, different things, and I have seen the difference in the character and the disposition of a black person who is raised in an environment like Africa, where there's no opposition to your identity directly. You're free to aspire, to dream big, to imagine big for yourself. And then you come here with that. I mean, I remember going to Ghana at times and talking to kids about goal setting, and their goals will always be things like president and prime minister, doctor, and they just had this aspiration that you ask the same questions to young people here, raised here, you wouldn't see it in them, right? And so, well, they'll be thinking about, a lot of the times it was just to make money, right? Just to make money, and that could be through illegal means, it could be through maybe doing what their parents are doing, that they've seen their parents do. But there was a limitation, hence my first book was called From the Postcode to the Globe, How to Overcome Limitations and Realize Your Potential. And so I think, that's my first one, the bestseller on Amazon. I think there's a lot of psychological, mental, emotional advantages to not having been raised in this environment. And if you can carry your confidence that you've found from home and bring that into this place, man, you're gonna shine. You're gonna shine. You can see it that way. I believe you will. I think the key thing for me at age 19, I had what you might call a date with destiny, really. I was standing in front of a judge in Birmingham Magistrates Court. I was being sentenced, right? When they say if your parents go to prison, and chances are you'll go the same way. Anyway, I was there, and the judge said to me, Mr. Lawson, you're not going to prison, but you are going to do 100 hours of community service. What that meant was that I'd have to go to a place down the road from here, Prairie Bar Probation Office, every Friday, and check in there to do my hours until my hours are completed. But the great turn of events was that my probation officer, a black man called Ransford Clarkson, he saw me and he said, let me give this young man a chance. And he took me to a place in Handsworth, not far from here, to do my hours at a building owned by an old Irishman. His name was John Holcroft. And long story short, John became a father figure to me. And this mentor, this father figure, saw past my limitations, my mindset, my everything about me, and just believed in me when no one else did. And I was at rock bottom. I was at absolute rock bottom, and he just made me realize my potential and gave me an opportunity to start my first company at 19 years old. He mentored me. He guided me to get that started. And when that company then started, it became a huge turning point for me. And so you said exactly the right thing. It's about relationships, and it's about people, and it's about having that mindfulness and that intentionality about surveying the land and asking people, sitting there having conversations with people, finding out how the systems work here, how the roadmap is laid out, and then just building relationships. And so for me, it was a key relationship in this gentleman called John that opened up a whole world of possibilities to me. I found myself in meetings with city leaders and councillors and all kinds of people I never imagined sitting in front of, and hearing them talk and discuss important things and saying to myself, is this what they do? I can do this, right? This is what it takes. This is what it's all about. I can do this. And by the exposure my confidence began to grow. By the exposure, my dreams began to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And that was probably the main thing at the start of my journey. So I think there's a few things, right? I think one thing is about proximity, okay? And when we talk about mentors, a mentor can be in a book, right? You can pick up a book and you can be mentored by someone's writings or watching them, right? But in a person-to-person, actual physical relationship, it's to do our best to keep our proximity to the person, right? So if you imagine the first day I met John, there were 3 of us standing there, and we were all there smoking on spliffs, and he came out of his car to us who were sent to do our community service hour day. And it gave us all an opportunity. Did any of you lads here play football? And we're like, yeah, and what? He said, well, I want to start a football team from this building. I'll give you the kits, the league fees, the minibus, whatever you need to run this team. We looked at each other and we said, nah, you're okay, mate. Long thing, we walked off and we left it. But at the end of that day, I went back to John. I said, John, tell me more. Because I love the game of football. I already had a team that I was part of and running them. Tell me more. He said, yes, sir, I'll give you the kit, the minibus, whatever you need. I want to start a team. And on a Sunday morning, I said, okay, I'll do it. And he gave me everything. I ran the team. My team were all gang members. But what interestingly happened was the team didn't last very long because of the fights and everything else, right? But I ended up staying with John. And the other 2 guys who were with us, they had the same opportunity. Okay. They were asked the same question. Okay. Their stories are very different. I could tell you that another day. But it was about proximity. I stayed with John. I literally followed him around everywhere I could just to sit with him and learn from him. Sometimes you may have a mentor where you don't know him that well, or they're in another country, right? Yeah. My pastor's in another country, he's in Nigeria, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's like, how do I maintain a relationship? Honor. Very important, right? Yeah. Honor the person. Yeah. Honor them, honor and respect the boundaries of the relationship. Sometimes people mistake mentorship with somebody being a biological father or parent, and they get so familiar with the individual as though they cross the lines of honor and respect before permission has been given. Any additional space inside a mentor's life must be given by permission. It must be an invitation closer to them. Until such time as you receive the invitation to come closer into their world, into their space, assume that you are on trial. Assume that you're being tested. Assume that they're watching you to see how true you are, how sure you are, how authentic you are, how much you are sincere in your pursuit, in your follow-up of them. Are you with me? Yeah. And so I have mentors, and I've had amazing sons, sons who were so just that my heart, that I carried them in my heart. Then there were others who become over familiar or on friendly terms that I haven't granted that, or we haven't come to that place of understanding what permission hasn't been given, right? And so they've assumed it, but it's not granted. Are you with me? Yeah. And so I think honor is always important. And if somebody has received you and accepted you as a mentee, it's better to assume at that point that you are on trial, that you are being tested, and honor them, be humble, accept the opportunities you're given, be a blessing, serve them, ask, how can I serve you? How can I be a blessing to you? How can I be of value to you? But don't take ground where permission is not being given.